Hello and welcome to the Ideal Investor Show. My name is Axel Meyerhöfer and I'm the host of the Ideal Investor Show, where we show you the path to early retirement. Hello, Shawn. Thank you for joining us on the IWG interview series and our YouTube channel. And how are you today?
I'm doing excellent. How about yourself?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you again for making the time to speak to me and to our audience with this new series that we're starting. Still getting my feet wet with asking good questions and becoming a better listener. So tell me a little bit what you've been up to lately and maybe introduce yourself a little bit to our audience.
Well, my name is Shawn Pigg, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I own several internet companies dating back all the way from the day that you could first buy a domain name back in the 90s. I was one of the first people to ever create an electronic ebook with Jeff Bezos on Amazon. I was one of the first people to ever buy domains out there in the marketplace with Domain King. And then, of course, I got sued by cyber squatting with Nickelodeon, so I got out of that industry. And then I gradually, because I kind of foreseen the way the world was changing, I back in 2005 got into my current company, which is one of my main companies, Hotels, etc. And I've been with that program since.
All right, cool. And can you describe a little bit what you like or what you're aiming to achieve with that company and with your activities?
I want to own all the discounts I can own and help people save as much money as possible. Right now, we have over 2 million discounts that's not available to the public in 141 countries. And I beats the public rate by up to 70%. Here's the thing, you know as well as I do, we've all been through a lot over the last year and a half.
Right.
Families are ready to get out and go on vacation, and my job and goal is to help people do that on a limited budget. It's to help families go out and enjoy life without the hassle of price.
Right. And so, I mean, from my own experience, I know from the times before traveling got a little more complicated, that I had like certain cards that had certain discounts and stuff like that. Can you give a little bit of like an idea of what kind of level people can actually achieve with your help?
Yeah, so I would say about 2 years ago, they came up with a law called the rate parity law, which prohibits any online travel agents like Expedia and Travelocity from discounting the price less than what the hotel price is. And the only way that anybody can give a wholesale net rate discount is to be part of a closed user group program, which is called the CUB. And basically that's a membership-based platform. There are companies out there that have travel incentives and rewards, but typically they're all based off points and rewards and miles. They're not based off actual discounts. So a good way, the smart travelers out there, they will use our system to obtain the discount while using their credit cards with their reward points and get a double bang for a dollar.
Right. Yeah. So just to make sure I get this right. So somebody would join your organization, you basically run somewhere in the background what would be the best deal for whatever the client would want to do. And then when they actually pay for it on the discounted rate, for that amount that they paid using a credit card that has any of those rewards points, they would get those points on top of it, basically.
And that's the best way to get double your bang for your dollar. And there's more ways to do that. So we also have a built-in reward point program in our system as well. Not only do we give you the deepest discount on earth, but we also give you a point for every dollar you spend. And if you use that in conjunction with your American Express or Discover Visa Rewards travel program, card that you have, you can actually get a benefit from 3 different angles by doing it that route.
Yeah, that's awesome. And for our listeners and anybody who comes to watch this video, I will ask Nadine to put the links and everything to your site and to your content in the description below so that people have an easy way to find it. Now, with all those savings, and as you know, I'm coming from, okay, what do we do with kind of like our disposable means and how can we use them? Are you making any suggestions to your clients of what they should do with any of the money that they save other than travel more and use it more?
I'm a travel advocate. I believe that we live one time and we experience every part of this earth that we can, while we're still young. However, you are right, with times changing, and if families aren't in a position to go on a vacation, then there are ways to take that money and invest it into your future, into your retirement, and that way you can have long financial stability by taking advantage of what's happening in our country today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I have to admit that this is just something that kind of occurs to me while we are talking. But in a way, I would say under normal circumstances, even though everybody loves a discount, I think there is a fundamental willingness. If I'm saying, okay, I'm looking to rent a car that has these particular conditions, and I'm fundamentally, let's say, willing to pay $40 a day, or I'm fundamentally willing to pay $100 a night in a hotel, or I'm fundamentally willing to pay X amount for the airline ticket or for any kind of activities and so forth. So then when people get these discounts, like you said, with your help, the difference of what I was fundamentally willing to pay and what I'm ultimately having to pay would be a great way to say I put that difference into what we call at Ideal Wealth Grower our accumulation account, right? Because if the discounts weren't fully available or no discounts available, whatever the circumstance were, that would probably not mean I don't go on a vacation or don't take a trip at all anymore, right? And we are always looking to come up with creative ways when people say, and this is a reality that I'm facing quite often, two things I would say for most cases we face when we're talking about how can I get into my first investment property so that I can start generating passive income that will ultimately allow me to have the freedom to decide I want to work with Shawn all the time and travel to all these places around the globe, right? If I don't have to spend any time exchange for money anymore, I can basically get passive income. That would be the ideal, what we call the time freedom point. So people ask me, how do I find the right properties, which is not really our topic today, or where is the money supposed to come from, right? And some of the money should be just regular savings. I think that is something that we should all do for ourselves in the long run. But this would be kind of like a cool way to do that too. So what do you think where we're going? I've seen like crazy rates for rental cars, crazy rates for hotels and stuff like that. Is this kind of price spiral that we seem to be in your view, is that going to continue, or what's your perception of where we're going?
I don't say that's going to continue. I think right now it's just that the dust is just trying to settle. So many companies out there, especially the hospitality industry in general, took a major hit with this COVID. And, unfortunately, they can't get the workers that they need to fill their staff in order to maintain full capacity. So they're trying to get maximum dollar for each room or each car that they do have. Keep in mind with the car rental situation, most of the car rentals sold a lot of their inventory to stay afloat during the COVID. So their cars are very limited, and that's why they're charging astronomical fees for those rental cars. When it comes to hotels, like with our system here, if you're accustomed to paying $40 a night for a hotel room, it's going to be very hard for us to discount $40 a lot. Totally. We'll give you a couple of dollars off. There's nothing we could do. But what we can do is allow you to go stay at a 5-star hotel for a price of a 2-star. So so go to a hotel that's typically, let's say, $250, $300 a night, and you're getting it for $80. It allows you to travel with style and on a budget without breaking your bank. What we encourage everybody to do out there that's looking to travel is keep your mind and your options open. That's what you did. As far as your travel and dates, your travel location, your the brand that you typically go to, instead of going to like a super, what is that called, a Super 8 or a Motel 6, yeah, right. Go to a Wyndham or go to a Hilton at the same price. So we encourage people to travel more luxury at a better price.
Yeah, that's great advice, and I think that feeds well into when we look at the overall trajectory that I'm seeing, and I've recently written some articles about that too, is a lot of the people that I'm engaging that ask me for help in the context of our turnkey residential real estate investing strategy, when I ask them, so, would you be willing or able to go and look at the property if it really looks, like it would be a suitable investment opportunity? Because I'm always advocating you want to go there. You want to see the place, right? Like just buying it from the internet because you see it on Zillow or some turnkey provider offered it to you is never the same than actually being in the location. And you can basically get an experience where you kind of have a similar situation as if somebody gets relocated by their company into that area where the property is, and we're out to look for a property. And what's kind of interesting is that oftentimes people respond to that with, well, I can't really afford to be away from work very long, which, based on what you just said, I would say, well, if that's true either for a visit of an investment property or even if you take your family on vacation, then shouldn't that limited amount of time, I know a lot of my contacts and my clients don't allow themselves to take much more than 5 to 8 days, right? Like anything like in Europe, 2-3 weeks at a time is pretty much unheard of. And so that time, I think, needs to have as much quality as possible if you can make it affordable. So
and you're 100% right there. And we're all crunched for time, especially in today's day and age. We're a rush society now. Unfortunately, that's the way it just has evolved. And one thing that I am looking to build here in the near future, which keep this confidential. One thing I'm looking to build here in the near future is a program that is going to allow you, even in the real estate industry, and it doesn't matter what it is. It could be real estate, it could be cars, it could be personal products and services that you see on Marketplace or Craigslist. But if you don't have the time to go view it, then you'll basically hire a third party to go out and review that for you, and then give you back the feedback. And that way, they're taking a place of your time, so you can continue to work. That's something that will probably be coming out within the next, I would say, about 8 to 12 months. And I think it's going to be a good avenue for people who couldn't take off work.
Yeah, that's absolutely great. And I've heard that idea from several other places. And for me, I mean, when I know an area, then it's a little different, right? Like I have certain locations, for example, in Ohio, where I'm currently owning 4 properties, and I visited all of them initially. But now if I were to add to that, I would totally develop a relationship with somebody like that, so that we can go out there and that person can go. And most of the time, I would assume you would look for those people that do go out and take a look at these properties to be local people. So they're not just looking at the real estate in that location, but they would be able to say, yeah, this is a nice neighborhood, or the schools are pretty good, and the traffic isn't too crazy, and whatever other things are. Because I think none of us really, even if you're an investor, you're not just buying the property because it performs financially. You also, at least I always encourage everybody that works with us, we want to provide a good service to our tenants. And that is much more holistic than just the house itself.
Absolutely. The real estate market is obviously at its prime right now. The cost of real estate, especially here in the US, is out the roof. And if you can even find anything, for example, we're right outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and you couldn't find, most buyers have given up. You can't even find anything. And if they do find something, they're offering, 1.5 times the original asking price just to get the home. So the cost of real estate has went out the roof. And one thing I have noticed as well, due to the pandemic, a lot of people's credit has been ruined. A lot of people's credit. So in order to go out to get a traditional FHA loan or a loan, a mortgage for a house, you have to have, decent credit. Well, that is preventing a lot of people from buying a home right now. So what a lot of homeowners are doing, if they're looking to sell their home here, like in the United States, Georgia area, they're offering, either lease to own purchase or owner finance purchase. With maybe like a 10-year owner finance with a balloon at the end, or 10 years you have to go get your own mortgage and pay it off. That's become very, very common around here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have seen that too. And thanks for sharing that. I mean, the issue with that is oftentimes that to make that work, you have to have a certain amount of cash that you can give, because most people don't want to just make the sale and then somebody else take over the mortgage without getting at least a good chunk of money out of it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things. I mean, I know during the pandemic, things have gotten better as far as Americans getting more into saving, but it's still relatively unusual if somebody can literally put 20% down and have the other 80% as part of a mortgage. Besides the fact that equities have increased so much that if somebody bought a house, let's say in the Atlanta area for 300,000, it's probably close to 500 now, even if it's only been a few years. And so if you have that equity as an owner, you oftentimes want to get your hands on it. One thing that we do, and that's why we call it out of state residential real estate investing strategy, is that we are working with turnkey providers, and it's almost a little bit like a hidden market. And I don't know if that exists in your area, but why I say hidden market is because these turnkey providers have one department in their company where they find dilapidated houses, and they're not flippers in the traditional sense like you see it on HGTV, but they find these houses, they purchase, take ownership of these houses with the express intent later on to offer this property to an investor. They know exactly what needs to go in to make it really nice for tenants, but also very easy to manage and so forth. And that's a market that is not necessarily that well known. There are not that many big companies, or the companies themselves aren't very big. And if you go a little bit into a secondary market, there are still chances to find well-performing properties. So I'm wondering, naturally, we specialize in real estate, you specialize in discounts, but from the benefits, from the successes that you have with your activities, what does Shawn do to prepare for his, future, maybe time freedom point or retirement or something like that? No worries. I was just asking you just before you dropped off. I know that you are pretty successful, and that you realize, like you said, that we all need to kind of prepare for either a time when we can say we don't want to work that much anymore, or go into something like retirement. What are you doing to prepare for that?
Other than outside of my companies and my real estate that I do currently own, I'm very avid investor into crypto.
Okay.
I think that something's going on. Something's really going on, and nobody knows what it is. But if you kind of read between the lines, you can kind of foresee what the story is telling us. One of my favorite books that I've ever read was called The Roaring 2000s. It was by Harry S. Dent, and it basically discussed how a product went into an innovation stage, to a production phase, to a release stage, to a mass production stage. How even the cell phones, the internet, every new technology that we've had. And if you look at Bitcoin, for example, Bitcoin that was invented by some guy named Satoshi,
Right.
that nobody ever knows of. Nobody's ever met him. He just disappeared in 2010 when it came out. And he hasn't moved any of his Bitcoin from his wallet since 2010. So if you look at the way that the governments, and not only in the United States, but globally, are printing money left and right, giving it away like it's going out of style, there's something happening there, and you just can't immediately take away fiat and say, okay, hey, we're going digital, we're done, because people they're not gonna understand it, and it's a gradual process of bringing in a new technology or a new currency per se, in order to get the whole globe on the same page. I think that with the way the governments, especially the United States, are printing money left and right, there's an amount of debt that the government is in here in the United States. There's foreseeable and unforeseeable what's the name of the word? It's a foreseeable and unforeseeable way to not pay your debt.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even though our prime investment area, as well as where we help our clients, is in real estate, but for myself, I have recently also started to invest in Bitcoin. And so I'm assuming that you're a hodler, right, Shawn?
But what was that? Sorry.
You're probably hodling instead of trading, right?
I buy in the dips. I buy in the dips. Yeah, absolutely.
Right,
If I say, if I use Hotel Etc. and saved $100 on my vacation, which was already in my budget, that $100 is going to Bitcoin or going to Ethereum or some kind of stable coin or DeFi. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and for me, I'm still, I mean, tipping my toe into this market. I decided to kind of stay relatively single lane for now, because I'm honestly not, I mean, Bitcoin and Ethereum, I think I get pretty well what they're doing, what they're for. The other ones I haven't really fully understood yet. But one thing that I really think is a great point to raise, or that you brought up in a sense, is when you look at what does a store of value actually mean, right? Then I would say one thing is, how limited is it in the bigger scheme of things? How easy is it come from a comfortable perspective, which is the digital point that you made? And then the other point is, how does it actually behave in bad times? And you mentioned that book, and we will put that in the description. One of the books along the same lines that I read recently, even though it's been written, I think, end of the 90s or around 2000, is called The Fourth Turning, which basically,
I've read that book. That's a good book.
Yeah, that's a really good book. And it really opened my eyes a little bit to the historical cycles. And when you earlier said, something is going on, but we can't really put our fingers on, I think what's going on is that we're in the fourth cycle, or fourth part of the overall century cycle turning. And what I like, that analogy is what they use in that book is the seasons, right? Like after the big Great Depression in the 1920s, we got into spring. And then in the 60s to 80s, early 90s, we got into summer. And then after that, we got until I would say probably 2010 or so into fall, harvesting a lot of the things that were put in spring. And now, like in every season, when you look at it from a natural cycle perspective, we're getting into a phase where we need a reset, right? Where we've basically taken the energy out of the ground and consumed it in the stuff that we harvested. And I agree with you, we can't really tell exactly what that new reset approach will look like, but it's probably not going to carry $30 trillion in US debt forward. So then the question for us, and it sounds like you have a similar approach, is what are those things, right? And real estate, you can look in history, anytime anybody owned real estate, whether there were wars or economic collapse or whatever, those who own real estate were back on their feet very quickly. Same, I think, would be true for gold, silver, those kind of things. And Bitcoin.
Well, you can never make more land.
Right. So that's exactly Bitcoin, 21 million coins, and that's it, right? I mean, so
yeah, that's absolutely correct. Yeah. So, so back, and you're 100% right, about the Four Seasons book, in a way that, we're all seeing something evolve here and we don't know what it is. But if we look at the way that the government's printing money so rapidly and so carelessly, like never before done, when they're done printing it, all they have to do is say, hey, that's not our currency no more. It's gone. Now that's called unforeseeable debt loss. It's gone. The money is gone, and they just automatically switch over to a digital currency. If the virus did come from China, well, I think the majority of our debt is owed to China. So I think that the United States has something behind their sleeve to say, China, guess what? We're done. We're not even using fiat no more.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. I mean, the one part that goes with that, when I say store of value, I mean, the more public way of store of value is in real estate, because you have a title or deed. But if you think about, why would the government create digital dollars, for example, except for a way to control more of us, and potentially have the option to say we do negative interest rates if you put something in any kind of savings account, checking account, or stuff like that. Because if it's just a matter of can we pay digitally, you can use PayPal, you can use Visa, MasterCard, all those things are already out there. So there is really, other than control, not really any, for me, plausible reason why we need it. And if you go to the other stores of value, Bitcoin, you can put it into your own wallet, right? And take it out of the circulation, take it out of...
and nobody controls it but you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as long as you keep your keys, right? And the same is true.
Yeah. We see that a lot, huh?
I've heard stories about some person who supposedly had a lot and couldn't get to it anymore.
I lost $60 million because I forgot my key.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, the other thing is the same, right? Like when you go to gold and silver, you know, like you buy them if you buy them as coins or as little gold bars or silver bars. You have them. Yes, you need to basically provide.
You do, yeah, and you're 100% right. I hate to interject here, but here's my point of view on that. I am not going to carry a gold bar across the country to buy a car. You know, I'm not going to carry a gold bar that weighs how many ounces or pounds or whatever it may be. It's something I can't fit in my wallet. Can't fit that. So gold, in my opinion. Gold is an old historical inherent value. There is not a current value to it. I think that this crypto is a new form of gold that you just don't have to, you don't have to store it in your vault. You just store it in your wallet.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the transition that we are seeing, I totally agree with you. The transition that we are seeing is that there are certain things that are, in a way, this is at least my way of looking at it, universally accepted. Right. If you can say, this is the house that I own, here is the title, it doesn't matter in which currency.
That's correct.
If you have a series of 10 gold coins of some sort of print run or something like that, Krüger run or whatever it may be, you can go any place in the world to pretty much any bank or any kind of gold dealer and say, I want to exchange this for currency, right? Not necessarily for a car, even if you could potentially also do it for a car. And I think we're transitioning to how do we get these physical, sometimes heavy things into a way that is more 21st century and forward, which is digital, which is Bitcoin, right? So I think this whole notion overall that I would hope that our listeners and people watching this on YouTube take away is start thinking about what can you do to get your investments and your savings into something that will always be accepted as valuable, instead of these little colorful pieces of paper with a number on it, where, like you said, anybody any day can say, well, sorry, those don't count anymore.
And you got to, you also have to look at the fact that here, especially here in the United States, most companies don't even want to take cash anymore. They only accept credit card. Or if you spend too much cash at once, you have to notify the IRS, you have to fill out these documents and everything else. So the traditional fiat cash system that we have in place is obsolete. I think it's going away, and it's slowly going away, and unfortunately it's taken a lot of people a long time to catch on to it, and that's why they can't move at expeditional speeds. Now, look at that one country. What is that one country? One of the poorest countries on earth, El Salvador. One of the poorest countries on earth has now made Bitcoin their national currency. This country here is going to go from one of the poorest countries on earth to the most wealthiest countries on earth because they adapted to the change before anybody else did. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I also thought, that president, people have different opinions about him. But the one argument when that was announced, I thought was really valuable, and it didn't really play much in our media, is the fact that all the expats that from that country that live in other places and make money and then basically send money home, used to pay insane amounts of money through MoneyGram and Western Union and stuff like that. Yep. And now they use the what's it called, the Lightning Network out on the Bitcoin blockchain. Yep. And it's basically for free. If they get a Strike account, right, they can basically transfer money for free, which ultimately means, and this is actually not just because of the increased potential or the most likely increase in the value of the Bitcoins themselves, but also for their economy, if you don't have to pay 10, 15, 20, even up to 30% in fees to transfer money, that money is actually reaching the people over there to do something with it, right?
Absolutely.
So those things are really, and I think it's just the beginning. Right now, I would say it's kind of this situation of bated breath, right? Where a lot of other places, especially in South America and Middle America, are probably waiting. Is he going to get away with it? And is it going to work? Right? If this kind of establishes itself for the next 6 to 12 months, I would totally not be surprised if several others would do the same thing for the same reason.
I can tell you, it's too big for anybody to stop it. It's way too big.
No, I don't think it's going to be stopped, but there is a possibility that like countries like ours would say, hey man, if you still want to have any kind of financial help, you got to stop this Bitcoin thing, right? And
you're right on that. And that's what's shocking, because usually the United States, in my opinion, is always a leader of the pack. And for us not to be the leader of the pack this time is even more confusing about what's going on around here. Who's the Satoshi guy? Who invented Bitcoin? Why are we last when we're coming, into the picture? That's what's confusing.
Yeah, I think that if you don't mind me saying my opinion about that, why that is, two things, and I don't really make this in any way political, but when you basically have leadership on all the most important levels of people that should be enjoying their retirement, we shouldn't have 75 or 78 or 83-year-old people running the country. And and because of that, if you try to explain to anybody of this generation what a blockchain is, I mean, you lost them at like the second or third sentence at the latest. And that's, for me, the reason when there was more willingness to adopt innovation. This is also, by the way, my reasoning why I think we need to be really careful what's happening in Asia, because they have a totally different perspective on new stuff and new innovations as far as trying and taking some risks. And we have people of a generation in power who have been told that any risk needs to be avoided no matter what, right? And if you don't want to, you claim you want to be innovative, but you're not willing to take risks, those things don't go together,
Thank you. Thank you to our, not political, but our incredible president we have in the United States now. He's incredible. Anyways, back to the story.
Absolutely. So as we're coming to the end, thank you. I think we are very well aligned, Shawn, without going anywhere political.
Yeah, there we go. As far as your listeners and your viewers out there, I'm gonna personally put this out there. If they don't listen to anything I say, and I can tell you, I'm very successful in my life. I'm happy with the way I have evolved with technology, all the way from cell phones to internet to domains to ebook, like everything, just everything in general. I would definitely research crypto to the fullest. And when we first started this call, you mentioned that you don't know the difference between like the Bitcoin Ethereum network and all this other stuff. Bitcoin is one coin. It's Bitcoin. It's a blockchain. There's 21 million coins that could be mined. Once those 21 million coins are mined, no more can be mined. Nothing can be built off the Bitcoin network. Only Bitcoin. That's the only thing that could be. It's like a global currency, basically, in a sense. Ethereum is almost like. Have you ever heard of WordPress?
Right.
Okay, Ethereum is like a WordPress site. You have Ethereum, which is a network, a blockchain network, and then you have everybody out there that's making their own plugins to the Ethereum network, the stable coins and altcoins. So you have Doji, you have Shiba, that's everybody's talking about, and you have XLM or XML or whatever. So you have all these people out there developing the coins into the Ethereum network. Now, one thing you and I did discuss prior to the call was the stock market. If you look at what is happening right now with like Coinbase, for example, or Voyager or Binance, they are a digital stock market. The current stock market is all relative based on people's quarterly reports, their profits, their their profits and loss, their expectations for the company. Right now, I think it's all inflated. It's all based hypothetical what we're going to do tomorrow. But everything is based off of quarterly reports versus a coin can be based off of your overall, let's say, overall portfolio in your company. So for example, we're going to have our own coin, but it's not going to just be a hotel, etc. I'm partners with onlinecoupons.com, grocerycoupons.com, and several other sites that I'm part owner in. We're going to make a coin that runs on all of it. And that way, when you're coming in, you're able to, purchase your travel on coin, convert your fiat to coins to buy it. The more people that use the coin, the more valuable that coin is. So that's the difference between Ethereum and a Bitcoin network. Is Bitcoin has one coin, Ethereum companies are going to come in and make a coin based off their company. So, for example, if Amazon or Walmart comes in and makes their own coin, if Amazon comes in and makes their own coin, Jeff Bezos, that coin right there would be so valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a great explanation for anybody who is considering, what's the difference. And there's all kinds of different things. I think we need to kind of come a little bit to the end here, Shawn. And I really want to thank you for all your wisdom and the time that you spent with us. I personally would say, anybody who listened to the two of us talking about, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, real estate, stores of value, ask yourself that question. What can you do and what should you do and what places are you familiar with and investments that you can do that will not be influenced when we get any kind of significant further inflation or real economic impact or some crazy political upheaval or anything like that. So I want to give you the last word, Shawn. If you had the chance to give a message about either a good book or something that you would recommend for our audience to do, what would that be?
My best suggestion is join hotels, etc. Save money on all your dining, your attractions, and your travel. Take that savings and invest that savings. It doesn't matter if you invest it into a physical real estate property, digital real estate, or any other type of virtual real estate on the internet. Take that savings and invest it. As well as I do, you're going to travel. You're still going to go out to eat. So go ahead and save that money and then take that savings and invest. That's how you're going to get ahead of everybody else on earth.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. And so if people want to know a little more how to do that, where can they best get a hold of you?
If they want to know more about hotels, etc., they can just go to www.hotelsetcetera.com, HOTELSETC.com. If they want to get a hold of me personally, good luck. They can try to go through you and get a hold of me. I don't know.
Yeah. I have the same answer. I would give it to Nadine. She gives it to your assistant, and then we go from there.
There you go. That's how we make it happen. But most important thing is everybody save up for your future, because as of right now, the future of our global economic system is not looking too bright.
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, after winter, there comes the spring, and I hope that everybody is doing something to prepare for the coming spring. But winter is going to be cold, I'm pretty sure. All right, Shawn. So thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it. And on behalf of our audience, I want to thank you for your time and for your wisdom again.
Thank you. Thanks for allowing me. You have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Ideal Investor Show. More info and the links we mentioned during the show are in the show notes, or you can go to our website at idealwealthgrower.com and find them there. Sign up for the Apple Podcast link, the RSS feed, the Spotify link, and if you like to talk to me, please sign up for a strategy call at idealwealthgrower.com. So hopefully you want to share what you learned with your network and bring more people in. We are really eager to hear your comments. And until next time, be well, stay safe, and ciao.